How you guys doing? Um, Let me do a video check and a sound check. So, can you hear me okay? Hi, Javi. Is the sound all right? Boy, you're up early, Javi. Anyway, sound check. Sound okay? Video, video okay? Oh boy. Good. Hi, Big Sal. How you doing? Hi, Tim. Hi, Hater. Good to see you. Oh, good. Glad everything's working. The I guess I usually don't do this. I don't know why, but I don't. I usually don't talk about the watch that I'm wearing. I know that it's considered to be out of rigueur for others, but not for me. Um, this is a watch I really like. I have several watches that I feel like I could wear every single day and not get tired of them. This is one of them. This is a H. Moser Henry double hairspring. And the Henry is from Henry Moser or Henri Moser or somebody like that. But this watch, it runs at 2.5 hertz, 18,000 dph, keeps amazing time. It's got the double hairspring, and so they have these two hairsprings, and one's going one way and one the other. And when that happens, each torque offsets the other one, and so um, your shaft stays right in the middle where it belongs. Okay. So hi Junior, how you doing, man? Velvia man, how are you? Um uh Kabomo. Kabo, how you doing, man? Um what I wanted to talk about today was where are things going in the next decade? Uh in the watch business. What I seen or seem to have seen is sort of a creeping in of hi Steve, of um, silicon. Now, silicon in and of itself isn't evil. All right, let me just sort of give you my thing on silicon. If you have a hairspring made of silicon, it's not going to change its characteristics. You're never going to have to adjust it. In fact, you can adjust it because it's too brittle, and it's never going to be magnetized. All right. I mean, there are a lot of advantages of it, and there are no two ways about it. But the same is true with a smartwatch. There are all kinds of advantages. Uh, the the thing about it is that I think, ever since Patek Philippe, I don't know what, must be 10 or so years ago by now, they decided they're just going to put silicon in all of their watches, their silicon hairspring. At one time, if you went to the Patek Philippe site and you read about it, and then they were bragging about their silicon hairspring, but they quit doing it. Now you got to sort of dig around to find it. And I suppose it's sort of like this, is that you can use plastic and a lot of other things that have certain qualities that will, do a better job than the traditional materials and and methods and so on and so forth. But the logical conclusion of that is not mechanical watches with silicon, but rather a smartwatch. Um, Even on my little, this is my little Fitbit, has got more information. It tells me all kinds of stuff, like you're sitting around too much and need to get moving more. All kinds of things like that. This is just a little inexpensive one, and you take a really expensive Apple smartwatch. I don't know what their top of the line is, but it's under $2,000, I think, and usually a lot under 2,000, and you have all kinds of stuff going on that it can tell you. So it's going to be better than anything we can do with mechanical. Okay, fine. So then we go back, and here we have these guys. Oh, let's make it better. Well, they're I don't think they're making it better. They're not making it a better traditional watch. They're transforming it into something at some point that, and some people want this too. They want to put on their watch in the morning. They never have to want to think about things like a regulator, or if their watch would. They don't even know what a regulator is. They don't care about the frequency. They don't care about those things. They just want to have a watch that's a good, solid watch. Now, much to their credit, Rolex didn't go that route with the men's watch. They have one Pearl Master, I think, for women, and they put in the silicone hairspring on that, but not the other ones. Hi, Tuna and Thomas, and of the essence. Good morning, all three of you, both three of you. So anyway, so here we have a situation: is that where are they going to go with this? It seems that a lot of the Swatch watches have bought in all of the Patek Philippe. But then when you look at Vacheron Constantin, they don't. Uh, H. Moser, oh, by the way, yeah, this is the H. Moser Henry double hairspring. H. Moser developed the hairspring along the same lines as what Rolex had. Rolex used niobium and chromium and what's that called? Precision engineering, which is H. Moser's sort of watchmaking branch, created a one made of titanium and niobium, and they're very low on magnetism, so that's a good thing. So here we have this. Is that so? Where is everybody going with it? I mean, where are they headed? Alonga. See, this is another thing, Big Sal. I don't know what Alonga's doing. They will do what Richemont tells them to do. A lot of the stuff that Alonga used to do, and in fact, you can just go back and take a look at the prize list that Alonga had, and they were winning prizes left and right because they were doing a lot of innovations. But once they were taken over by the Richemont group, that sort of settled down. They wanted to be okay. We're going to make some serious money here, and so let's not monkey around with too much innovation. And one way to get things in a nice, settled way, unchangeable, is to dump in silicon. Now, there's also silicon in escapements as well, and I think the silicon in escapements, both in the pallets, I think in the pallet fork, as well as the escapement wheel out of silicon. The good thing about that is that they're non-magnetic, but they don't seem to have a lot of the other kinds of characteristics that you have with hairsprings. I don't have a beef as much with the escapement but as I do with the other one. But so the question is, where are they going to take all of this stuff? I mean, where is it going to go? Is that at some point, is that if you want, the watchmakers, God knows what's going to happen to them. But I I don't know. I'm just sort of speculating here. On the one hand, we already have some of that. We have the sort of what you might call or what I'll call professional watchmakers versus mass production watchmakers. The professional watchmakers are pretty much the AHCI watchmakers, but there's some other ones, sort of more massive ones. I think s- some of the Audemars Piguet and Vacheron Constantin still have that knack. And a number of years ago, not that long ago, but there were three guys working at Vacheron Constantin that made the most complex watch ever. It was first of all, it was made in 1900 by El Ra, and then in 1989, Patek Philippe made the most complicated one, and then think it was 2013 or something like that. Best wrong content intended, or maybe it was later than that. Maybe it was 2016, and they won an award for taking those resources and making a complex watch. Now, you might say, well, what good does that do? Well, it's sort of like, now let's see if we can do it, and which I think to me is what makes the whole watchmaking enterprise the most interesting. Now, I can take a program and make that happen with a smartwatch in a couple hours easily. And so, you have your I guess the thing about it would be is that the wonderful part about the classic watch is this whole concept of this expanding mainspring powering all of these different things that are going on. And part of the problem that you have, of course, is magnet. I have one at my at Pigeon Chronomet Surveying gets magnetized all the time, and I don't know why. So it sits right next in the case to another two other watches, one of which is my other FPJ, and it doesn't get magnetized. So you're going to have that. Now, on the other hand, if you're thinking mass production, silicon makes a lot of sense. And I know they say, well, silicon costs more. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It comes out with a big sheet of the things on a looks like a cookie sheet. Now you pop them all out and stuff. The development, I'm sure, was expensive, but I don't know. Okay, so that's what I wanted to throw out for you guys. Where do you think this is going to go, and how is it going to happen? Uh, so let's see what you have to say about that. Hey, Desert Plains Dicker. No silicon, though. I do want a paddock travel time. Yeah, Tim, this is same here. You sort of there's a way of thinking about Paddock Philippe as though it doesn't have these gizmos in them. I mean, it's not full of this stuff, but they are. I think, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I'd want one. Uh, Maybe anything before, as long as it has the Geneva seal on it, I'm good with it. And then they put their own seal on it means that Geneva seal wasn't gonna accept silicon, among other things. Okay, hey Rancher, how you doing, man? Thomas, let's see, the Zenith Defy Lab silicon. Yeah, Thomas, I'm not saying it doesn't. And so does Girard-Perregaux has this wild looking thing that is really very interesting. It's very innovative. But you know, a lot of the stuff too that Zenith has is they're going to see how they can see how fast things can go. And in other words, they're trying to make it as fast as a quartz watch. So well, I'll take my $10 and buy a quartz watch down at Joe's pawn shop or something. I think AP had a watch with a double hairspring as well, in combination with a direct impulse escapement. They probably did. Hater. Yeah, AP has done a lot of interesting stuff that we never hear about. I think what happened to AP, I think their success in one area sort of wrecked it in the other. And that is when the Royal Oak came out, that thing was so popular. If you look at their line now, it's sort of 90% of some kind of Royal Oak or Royal Oak offshore. But I think they have some. I got a lot of respect for them. I once had one of their watches, and that thing was it was just there was something about it that was just good. It was I forgot what it was, but the only problem was it was too small, so I traded it in. Silicon has no silicone, and watches are boobies. Okay. Let's see. Will silicon hairsprings be more reliable in the long run? I don't know. They probably will be. I mean, this is the whole thing about it is that people say, well, are they as good as the traditional ones? And the answer is probably no. Probably not, because the traditional ones, unless you want to adjust them with a curve regulator, or that what's it called, Ogden pit regulator. I don't know if any of you seen that Agon pit regulator, but that thing is really cool. You got a screwdriver and pop up, and then you can adjust it and then pop up, tighten it up again. Really a cool thing that Jean-Marc Viderec invented. Very amazing. But you can't do that with a silicon hairspring. I think what it does too, to me, it sort of shuts the door on some other possible inventions in development. The one of the best hairsprings around, I think, is the one by H. Moser, their Strawman hairspring. But there's another company that it's called Autocalpa, and it's owned by the Sandoz Foundation family, and they make the hairsprings that go into Boscher, which go into the Parmigiani. But they're making like 300,000 hairsprings, and they're only making about a couple thousand maybe go to uh, Parmigiani Fleurier watches. And so but from what I understand is that right now they're using traditional metals in their hairsprings, but they've got their eye open for thinking of including silicon hairsprings in their line. So, uh, it's one of those things that's sort of like, you know, uh, there's an old term called a Luddite, and a Luddite was these people who were anti-production. I mean, this was during the Industrial Revolution, and a Luddite was someone who didn't want all of these fancy machines that were very efficient. This isn't that way at all. What this is about is sort of the difference between, to me, I'll put it at extremes. On the one hand, you have a smartwatch, and smartwatch is the best kind of thing we could come up with, I think, period. And that thing is, linked, hyperlinked to an atomic clock, something like that. I don't think you're gonna ever beat those things with accuracy. I think even quartzes make them shy. But then on the other hand, you have this, and I think at least for a lot of us, this is why we got into watch collection. It was something about it that required a certain craftsmanship and skill. And there's a company that's owned by Fastina, and they made the sort of remade the movements for Ophion things, and what they took a teletime movement, and then they had this nanotechnology thing, and the old machine just made it for them. And I that's sort of interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on. I think the wave of the future is silicon. It's like electric cars. Someday you're going to wake up and 80% will be electric. Well, I'm okay with electric cars because electric cars are sort of anti-pollutants. One of the things about a wind-up watch is that they don't pollute it at all with anything, and that's one thing I think they have over smartwatches. Apparently, there's all kinds of goofy stuff in the batteries and so forth. Um, yeah, we may wake up and see that, but like I'm okay with because I like to breathe the air. Hi, Deheng J. Since cars are so heavily legislated, coach-built cars is almost gone. So the closest the guy can go towards watchmaking, independent watchmaking will become a mainstream hobby for many. That may be it. I that's a good point. I think that the time that happens, the only person who would be able to wake him up is Jesus. Oh my God! Hey, Gilberto, how you doing, man? Oh, good. I'm glad you're here. I don't what time is it over there? Hey, Big Sal. I think that buyers, mechanical watch buyers, will stop buying models once they creep into the quartz realm. Something like GF spring drive. Yeah, the GS spring drive. I'm of two minds of that. The thing about the GS spring mines um, is that it's this really wonderful mechanical engineering to sort of send the juice to the quartz regulator. So that's sort of a funny kind of thing. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, man? See, silicon watches as part of a Green New Deal in Congress. That doesn't, I don't think so, Tim. It should, regular old ones ought to be the Green New Deal. Buyers will always be stratified. Yeah, that's true. I think some buyers, well, I don't know. I guess we sound snobbish, okay, for lack of a better term. We only like the ones that are made in certain ways with, rarefied butterfly wings or something like that. I don't think that's it. I think there's if something is done so well that you can't monkey with it, that's part of it. And it's sort of like the what was that System 52 or something that Swatch made. And they had the whole thing sealed up, and you couldn't adjust it. They had it all fixed for you. What fun is that? I don't think so. Say, rancher, yes, indeed. Is craftsmanship not possible with new materials yet? Oh, that's a good question, Gilberto. I think that there's the kind of craftsmanship that you need with silicon is very complex. It's not so much the craftsmanship, it's more like an engineering issue than a craftsmanship issue, I think. Um, hey Tony, how you doing, man? I think they'll go the route similar to the ISO spring when they figure out how to make it on a very small scale. I'm not familiar with the ISO spring hater, but you may be right. My opinion about spring drive is that it solves an issue that mechanical watch enthusiasts didn't necessarily think was. Well, what happens if you have a a quartz regulator is going to give you better accuracy. That's pretty much it. And so, but there are other things about it that people just, they don't care for. I I don't. I mean, it's quartz is silicon and oxygen. It's another form of silicon, but silicon shouldn't be a whipping boy here. It just sort of like represents a, a kind of change that for traditional watchmaking you may not want. I mean, it's like, well, let me give you a dumb example. Let's say that you take some kind of survival class, and so they're going to show you how to make flint arrowheads. And so you get a little thing and you flint and you shape it into an arrowhead. Now, someone comes along and say, "Oh, we'll give you one covered with Teflon and so forth." That's not the point. The point is that you're using sort of traditional skills. That's what I hate to see lost in all of this. One of you pointed out that you're going to have a bigger split between those who are making certain kinds of watches and those who are not. One of the things that Richemont may do is that they may have that kind of split as well, because right now, Vacheron Constantin is using, as far as I know, anyways, nothing but your traditional methods and materials and so forth. And on the other hand, some other ones owned by Richemont, I can't think right off the top of my head which ones they are, but they might say, okay, yeah, we're going to go with the silicon and we're going to stick that stuff in there, and then we don't have to worry about all kinds of other things. We'll see. Starting to wonder if the current situation will start forcing people out of the market. Ah, that's another issue. I got a feeling that, yeah, that I think current situation may do exactly that. The question is that, you know, who is going to be forced out of the market and why? And I don't know. That's it could be that all of a sudden people say, what, my brigade is full of silicon, and they are. And so I don't want a brigade anymore, and that may hurt them, and then they may come back with something else. I don't know. I think one of the things is that, to me, surviving in the what I'll call traditional watch market is tough, very, very tough. Uh, some of these guys who are sort of like, they have a small production number and they got a little team, sort of like Harbring too, with Richard Harbring and his wife Marie, and they're working away on watches, and their dog Fido or whatever his name is. They have this little operation, and they have worked out a system where they can do what they want to do, and enough to make things work financially for them as well. Not something to get rich. There's another thing too, that's been going on, and I sort of would like to see more of it. Um, I in the last video I talked about some of these, and these are sort of the two-tiered companies. If you want to watch by Daniel Roth and you get a hold of his agent or Daniel Roth himself, it'll cost you 110, $120,000, and you'll get this really wonderful tourbillon that he enjoys making. On the other hand, for maybe, I don't know, the price keeps going up, but let's say around $5,000, you can find a nice one, Daniel Roth watch, and in it is, well, like one I have. It's got an El Primero movement in it for or it's got some other kind of ETA movement, and but that has some feature that is very much Daniel Roth, like the Metropolitan with their 24-hour apart cities and things like that. All right, so that I would really like to see, and then I can, these the names, the guys in the AHCI, they can sort of have two tiers. I don't know, that's economically that may be very hard for them to set up, but then you could have the best of both worlds. Hi, Watch Nichols. I think it has, Rancher, but not enough matter because other punters are lined up. Good one. Uh, System 51 is incredibly accurate. A beast tuna, I'm not disagreeing with that. You're absolutely right. But I mean, it's sort of like, there are a lot of things, so the smartwatch. Now, this watch is very accurate, except it's all mechanical, every bit of it. Silicon oxides eventually don't know the effects down the road unless you replace it. Oh, yeah, silicon does oxidate. Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, we'll see what happens on that. Somebody with their Patek Philippe, all of a sudden, all of their silicon turns to dust, and like, oh, what am I going to do now? Oh, what they'll do is they'll simply get another one, pop it in, and back to work. Hi, NS something. How you doing, Hugh? I finally got a System 51, and I love it for what it is. It's also a great way to get kids into mechanical watches. Yeah, there are a lot of watches like that, and they're accurate as all get out, and you have them, but they're as a tool watch. I think they're great. As something that you want to spend more money than you have on, I mean, that's something important we've got to consider. We have to figure out we need watches to make us go broke. That's what we need. Hey, Tony, I'm a drummer and some prefer electronic drums versus acoustic drums. I definitely prefer acoustic drums, but I also prefer mechanical watches. Yeah, there was a Buddy Guy album, Buddy Guy and somebody else, and they have nothing but acoustics in it, and it's a whole different realm. And I think that's a great analogy, Tony. What do you think of the next biggest development in watchmaking will be? Boy, that's a good question. There's what I would like to be versus what I'm afraid it'll be. I think they're going to be, I think it's going to be a split. And I think they're going to be the ones going down the Silicon Trail, which now includes, Omega, Breguet, Blancpain. I mean, just about all of the Swatch watches. Um, the funny one that they could do a lot with, and I hope they do, is Harry Winston. Harry Winston's had some of the most amazing watchmakers work on some aspects of their watches. And I would like to see Swatch sort of keep Harry Winston out there as sort of an old-timey, kind of one with no silicon and then invite, some of these great watchmakers who worked on them in the past. F.P. Journe has, Jean-Marc Wiederreck has, Vinnie Halder has, all of these guys. So, okay, let's see what's going on. Will a standard winder box keep a System 51 wound? Boy, I don't know. They do a lot with new silicon materials, but they are also figuring out some really interesting ways to manipulate different metals, as been shown with the epi, for instance. Yeah, Hader, this is what, this is why I think precision engineering has done what they've taken, the way they've worked with niobium and titanium, also Rolex's, I forgot what they, Parachrome hairspring. They have done a lot of stuff with another path. I think that the silicon path is less expensive and it solves a whole lot of problems all at once. And you don't have people bothering you about, I want my watch serviced. Well, where are you going to send it? Joe, the watchmaker down the street, who's been working on ETAs all his life, isn't going to know what to do. He's not going to have the parts. That's going to be another interesting thing. Don't think it's all downhill when we talk about metals. I agree, Hater. I agree completely because there are things like precision engineering. I don't know what Autocalpa is doing. I do know that they probably make more hairsprings and watches that we have that we don't know that are there, that they're by Autocalpa. And they make good hairsprings. I mean, very good traditional ones, and they weren't in that. Uh, uh, I'll call it a cabal instead of a consortium between Swatch, Patek Philippe, and Rolex. Um, so you know, um, okay. So how are we doing on time? And we're out of time. Okay, guys. Well, anyway, it's something I wanted to bring up, something we can think about, and I don't know if we can do anything about it. We sort of watching the show and trying to find stuff. Maybe one of the good things that may come out of it, if they decide to go with all with silicon, the old non-silicon ones, they'll sell it to us really cheap. We'll see what's going on. Take care. Talk to you in a bit, Rancher.